Holy, what's good, everybody? Roman Post here with the brand new Green Runner EX Flame Emperor Sabo guide. Now, he is a very obnoxious runner who is capable of maneuvering the map at high speeds, getting extremely short cooldowns, and taking the flags from almost whoever he wants. He's protective against shield users and can handle a lot in the current meta, so he brings a little bit of a new twist, but he does have his counters. Without further ado, let's dive right into it. Okay, first things up is his stat recommendations. Now, this is entirely up to you and your playstyle, however you choose to play him. So you have two options. You can either go HP defense. If you want to go full tanky build, he does have a skill. His skill 1 ignores defense, and that will generally do enough damage for mostly what you need. You are primarily a runner. That your job is to run and take flags. Fighting is optional. You don't have to. This is a more defensive route. If you kind of want to be more survivable, more annoying, I would recommend taking this route. I think personally, the route that I'm going to go is going to be full HP attack. Remember, for those of you who are newer and watching this video, stats cap out at 70%. So when you build those percent medals, it caps out at 70. Now, there are 14%, there's 18%, and there's 25% that only exist on HPs, but you'll learn that as you go. That's beyond the scope of this video. So furthermore, we're going to go into the HP attack build. I think it'll be more fun. I think it's more entertaining to play, as you'll be able to do a little more damage. You can do more damage on your basic attacks since you have so much damage increase on those, and you can get a lot of work done with that, especially against those defenders that are really obnoxious and kind of holding mainly Kuzan, who does perform relatively well against him. So entirely up to you. I think I would, if I had to choose, probably HP attack, but whatever you're feeling, HP defense might even be better. There's a lot more testing that needs to go, and it really is circumstantial is the main part. So sometimes damage will be better, sometimes tankier will be better. It really depends. Okay, let's talk about the pros that Sabo has. The first thing is going to be your unlimited counters. So every time you stand back up and take a flag or start taking a flag, you have your counter. You can press it. If someone hits you, it procs your counter, and then you can go back to doing it. And if they immediately break your wall, you can press and use it again whenever you feel like. So that is honestly insane. You have a 0 cooldown skill that is spammable of a counter so long as they hit you and it goes off just like that. So you can just keep standing up and start taking the flag over and over and over again, which is really annoying for defenders. So you have that going for you. As I said earlier, you can ignore defense on your skill 1. It does have 2 hits that are able to really do a lot of damage. I think it's like 200 something and some change base damage on the first hit, and it's like 300 and some change on the second hit. It does a lot. You're going to do a lot of damage against most units with that, unless they're high damage reductions. Those are the only ones who won't take too much damage from you. Next, now this is probably one of the most insane things because of runners, and the runners who have been problematic in metas in the past are these ones, and it's the ones who are extremely mobile. So things like King V1, things like Dark Roger, things that can fly around and run at the high speeds around the map have been really annoying in the metas that have pre-existed. So Sabo has his skill 2 that allows him to use that flame run capability, zoom around the map, inflict a slow on it, and then get more cooldown on it after you get done taking a flag, which is kind of just disgusting. So that, on top of his next kind of pro, is his ability to take flags while people are on it. This is the worst trait to ever been added to the game. It is what it is. It's here. So you can just walk into a flag and start taking it, and it's really unfortunate that for defenders to be able to hold this, and it can be a really big pain for certain people. And then if they want to hit you, you can always press and hold that counter, or press and click that counter if you would like to as well. Next, you have the ability to remove people's dodge with their skill 1. Removing dodges can actually really throw enemies off because they'll get a little bit mixed up on it. So make sure you're keeping track of that you're able to do that, because that will kind of validate or ensure what you can use next and where you want to go from there, because being able to take their dodge away sets you up for what you can hit them with next. On top of that, you have insane amounts of heals. This is usually a long list whenever new EXs come out. You heal off capping flags. You heal off your skills. You heal off your wall getting hit that you create from your counter. You have so many sources of healing. Yeah, you just keep healing, and then it's based off how much damage you do. So this is probably where building attack would help you more, as you'll be able to heal more from your skills. So that will help you more so on your skill 2, but your skill 1's always going to generally do damage because it does ignore defense, which is a huge deal. Next is you have high amounts. At peak, you have 80% damage reduction, not including metals. So you up to 80% damage reduction, 30% from being in your Flame Emperor state, 30% from being on the enemy flag, and then an extra 20% or whatever from fighting an enemy with the color you're strong against, which is darks and blues. So you have 80% damage reduction. That can help you survive a lot. So watch out for those people who ignore damage reduction, because you'll take a lot more damage than you really realize. And lastly, you get a defense buff from shield users. So people like Jabra, people like Dark Uta, people who have that yellow bar above their health bar are shield users. Anytime they hit you, they will inflict you with a 50% defense buff. So you'll get a 50% defense buff, and you'll be a lot tankier from there. So you'll have 80% damage reduction, depending on who you're fighting, and then 50% defense buff, which is very large and will make you extremely tanky. So that's where the tanky build could be even nuttier. Goes both ways. A bunch of characters ignore one or the other, usually ignore defense or ignore damage reduction. I don't think there's any skills, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think there's anything that ignores all of it. There's definitely not. Usually it's one or the other. So those are your choices, but that's the Sabo Pros. All right, next let's talk about the Sabo Cons. What makes him bad, or what are his weaknesses at? The first thing is going to be anti-heal. I think if you can inflict some anti-heal on him, you will be able to kill him, because having that anti-heal on him can wither him down. Now, this one, I don't remember if you're actually able to get out of it, or if someone inflicts you with a different status effect, you can do that, but you're definitely immune to those like immobilizing status effects, and your Flame Emperor state protects you from that. So if you're in Flame Emperor state, you'll be good. But those, if you're able to get anti-healed by like the Shanks, it can be a little bit nutty, and he's kind of annoying to fight. So just watch out for someone like Light Shanks. I wouldn't quite say he's a counter, but he's annoying to deal with. And if you get anti-healed, you just got to be careful with how you're using your skills, and don't waste your opportunities to heal from that anti-heal. Next is people who ignore damage reduction. This is something that can surprise you. So like something like S-Snake can actually be really annoying to fight, because she has that ignore damage reduction. Even though you have color advantage against her, she can still be problematic. You're probably going to want to use your basic attacks against her, so don't hit her with skills, and just don't get hit by her middle beam, and you'll generally be good. The last one is kind of just watch out. There's a lot of people who remove your Flame Emperor state. If you don't have your Flame Emperor state, you're not immune to status effects, therefore you can get clapped. So be careful of that. That's kind of just the main three things. Like, you're generally a really good all-around unit so far. We'll see what counters come out, but as of the moment of this video, that's all that kind of exists in the moment. All right, let's talk about the characters you counter. Now, Sabo is being a runner. I wouldn't say he's like, he does counter some units. So like there's people like, I would say Jabra you do fairly well against, because you have that 50% defense buff to counter his 50% defense / attack buff. Remember, Jabra skills scale off of defense. So you can counter that, and on top of that you have high amounts of damage reduction. You have what, 60% damage reduction against him, because you don't have color advantage, provided you're on the enemy flag. So you can generally fight him decently well, and you have the ignore defense skill on your skill 1. So as long as you land your skill 1, you should destroy most Jabras, I would say. Just be careful. I mean, as always, you can mess up and people can beat you, so that's the thing. Garp, I think you destroy him provided he's not stacked. If Garp gets fully stacked and is destroying and clapping your team, and then you have to fight him, it can be a little problematic. This one might not be a full-on counter, but it's someone you generally will win against for the most part. Next, I would say someone like Blue Kaido actually got buffed, but Blue Kaido skills are very easy to predict and read, so you can use your counter constantly when you just walk up and start taking his flag. So really, someone like Blue Kaido's not going to be too problematic, and you have that ignore defense skill, so you can just keep running at his flag and taking his stuff, and you're just proccing your counter. So for the most part, you'll be fine against a Blue Kaido. Obviously, you can mess up. He has the ability to push you off the flag too with his skill 1 if he's just knocking and you don't press your counter, or you mess up your counter and use it too early. There are different circumstances in fights, but I think for the most part, you probably destroy Blue Kaido. That's the most characters. I'm sure there's other units you absolutely destroy if they're just older. This one's a little bit harder, because I generally just try to focus the current meta units that exist at this time. Blue Kaido honestly has fallen off, and not very many people play him, but pretty much everyone's playing as of the moment of this video. You have lots of Light Shanks, you have lots of red Yamatos, you have Who else do I have? A little bit of Dark Roger, a lot of Dark Garp, so things like that. And a lot of it's 50-50 battles. Like when you're Sabo versus Sabo, it's kind of a 50-50. If you're Garp versus Sabo, depends if he has stacks. It varies, but for the most part, if you just keep running and taking flags, you'll be doing your job. All right, next is the Sabo Counters. Now, there are a few out here that actually destroy him pretty well. I think one of the ones that I've seen primarily come up is S-Hawk. I really want to try him out a little bit more. I have not personally tried this yet, but S-Hawk has the abilities. I know he has the damage reductions. He's got heal on knockbacks, which Sabo knockbacks. He's got the immunity to status effects. So S-Hawk has a lot going for him. And S-Hawk just has the ability to go through walls as well with his skill 1, so he can really clap him. So S-Hawk does have a lot going for him. They both have ignore stagger and whatnot when they're on flags. So as long as S-Hawk's 1v1 him, he should be okay. So he should be able to cook him pretty well. Then you have someone like Jinbei, Warlord Jinbei, the blue attacker. It's able to clap most Devil Fruit users because he has such high damage increase. So it will generally do a lot to someone like Sabo, even with the color disadvantage that Jinbei has. So watch out for someone like Jinbei. Try not to get hit by his skills. Next, these are some other notable mentions. I don't know if they're strong enough to say counters, but they're pretty good. So someone like Light Defender Kaku, CP0 Kaku, can do decently well. He can just keep using his spin ability to destroy the wall, and can kind of keep Sabo off of the flag for the most part. So it actually does it pretty good. You have high amounts of damage reduction. High amounts of damage reduction beats someone like Sabo because he's not going to have enough damage to really wipe you out. Plus, the light is color advantage against green is a thing as well. On top of that, someone like Egghead Zoro, if you bother fighting him, can be problematic, but as a Sabo, you probably just want to ignore the Zoro if you can, or just run away from him because he's just gonna be there following you and taking you down. So watch out for that. Just be careful of someone like that. But for the most part, things like that are your problems. Next, let's talk about medal suggestions. Now for these, I think they're mostly geared towards just being a runner. You have cap speed, you have skill 2. Those are the things you're going to want to prioritize. Okay, so here's the item that I have that I created. So here's a couple options. These aren't specific order or anything like that, but these are some options that you could go. So start with the All-Star cap speed. These ones have 2 cap speed oriented. I think it's 8%, and then a lot higher percent from the LF medal. I think it's another 8% in the last 45 or 60 seconds or whatnot. And then the Wildfire medal in the middle gives you skill 1 cooldown when you get hit. So you just get extra skill 1 cooldown from that. The Big Mom set is contender for one of the better options. That one, Sabo and Big Mom actually really combined a lot because they geared towards a flame people. So you get the extra cap speed from that middle Big Mom medal. On the left hand side, you get 5% heal when you kill, and then you have the right Big Mom medal, which gives you 5% damage reduction from afflamed units. So if an enemy is afflamed, they'll do 5% less damage to you, and there's like 7 tags on those Big Mom sets, so they're actually really, really good. These other ones, skill 2, kind of like an easier-ish to get. You have Apu, you have Snake Man, you have the Whole Cake Island Broke medal. Those are just skill 2 oriented medals and some cap speed. So those are really just oriented towards like pure running and getting that skill 2 back. A generic cap speed one that's been fairly well on runners before in the past is the Laufey, the Doflamingo medal, and that Dressrosa Law as well. That one's nothing special, just pure runner cap speed. So it's just to give you more cap speed all around. I do think something like that All-Star cap speed is probably a little bit more and maybe a little bit better now. So questionable, depending on what stats you're looking at for those two. And lastly is the CP0 all around. Now those give you skill 1 cooldown on the middle one. You get extra cap speed on another one, and then you get skill 2 cooldown from taking the flag on the Lucci one. So those come with an all-around just good set for him. You're going to be on the enemy flag. You're going to be taking flags. What stats can you get the most from doing that? So that is the medals overall. There's other options too. There's a variety of different options and sources you could go. Just if you want to look for mixed matches or you don't have all of the medals in these sets, just filter and look for the tags. So someone like the CP0, you can filter by 6 powers tag. That one will generally pull up most of the 6 powers, and you'll be able to kind of see which ones you would like to go. But regardless, that is the end of my video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Be sure to check out my Twitch, Twitter, Discord. The links are down in the description below. I hope you guys found this video useful. I'm your boy Romulus, and I'm going to be taking off. Yeah, hurley! Peace, beautiful people.